My name is Monique Graca with SLCT. Here's what is happening in Sterling and Lancaster. The Bigelow Public Library will be holding a lecture on fake news. Learn how to spot fake news. Wednesday, May 31st at 7 p.m. The Sterling Garden Club will be holding their annual plant sale on May 20th from 9 to 11 a.m. on the Sterling Town Common. Come to find perennials, annuals, herbs, shrubs, and trees. The Sterling American Legion will be holding their annual Ham and Bean Supper May 27th at the First Church Hall at 5:30 p.m. Takeaway will be available. For tickets, call Bob Temple at 978-479-0086.
I'm Lex Thomas, editor of Sterling Meeting House News. One of the real treasures that we have here in Sterling is our Sterling Municipal Light Department. And the SMLD has for quite some time been a leader in energy and in solar energy, not only throughout our state, but throughout the country. And I'm very pleased to have today the General Director of the General Manager of SMLD, Sean Hamilton. Welcome, Sean.
Thanks, yes.
And Sean, I know that you have recently, and that SMLD has recently received an award. Tell me about that.
The recent award we've received it's called the SEPA Award. SEPA stands for actually SEPA is normally the Solar Energy Association, but now they've changed them now to the Smart Energy Association, and they recognize projects that are innovative in the energy field, and recognize our recent battery storage project that we just put in. We just completed. It's 2 megawatts, 3.9 megawatt hours, first in the state in Massachusetts, and one of only a couple in New England right now. And it's become a model throughout the country for a lot of other utilities to use this for industry, to curb your peak and do a few other things. And it's proven out to be a very good project to have.
Now, one of the things that I think is amazing about this that you were telling me is that this was completed in 33 working days. I personally attended the event in October when you had the groundbreaking for that. And now, when was this up and running?
And on October 12th, we put the first shovel in the ground. And on December 16th, we actually shed the first peak, winter peak, saving ourselves almost about $17,000. That's with the work of the crew and with the vendors that we had. As a department, we took on some additional work with the project to eliminate the middleman of the project, and it was the vendor and us working together to build the project. It was 33 working days from the day we started to the day we finished. A real testament to the crew that we have working here in Sterling, because they did a lot of the work, a lot of foundation work and interconnect work they did. So it's a real testament to the work, the team that we have.
Now, tell me what the purpose of this is. When does this facility kick in?
The battery storage grant that we received from the Department of Energy Resources was $1.5 million. The grant was for the resiliency portion of the batteries. What that would allow us to do in the event of a major storm or cyber attack, and we lose power, we would be able to power the dispatch and police for almost 2 weeks.
Not that we ever have storms here in New England. No.
New England. No, not the ice storm. We hope we never see that again.
Mm-hmm.
But this allows us to feed which is right down the road from the substation, conveniently. We could feed the dispatch and the police center right from our substation for approximately 2 weeks without any outside sources.
Now, tell me, on the day that this went live, what was going on weather-wise and what was the result?
If anyone remembers back to the couple days this winter, it's December 16th. It was around 6 to 8 p.m. It's when our peak is in the winter. And temperatures are hovering just under zero. It was like -1, -2 degrees with about 20-mile-an-hour wind. We had kind of figured, looking at all the gauges and anticipated the loads that people were turning things on, appliances and heat, that it would be a peaking period, and it was. During that period, what we did is we turned the batteries on, meaning we don't have to buy that power at all. So our load is going along like this. It actually drops right down for those 2 periods and then comes back up again when the batteries started to charge. During that period, when we were down very low, was when the peak occurred. And when the peak occurs, they take a snapshot. And where you are at that time is what you're charged for your monthly demand charge. And so being so low and shaving almost 2 megawatts off that peak, we were able to save approximately $17,000.
Now, what does that mean to Sterling ratepayers?
That goes right into the pockets of the ratepayers. That's an obligation we don't have to meet anymore. We do not have to make sure we meet these peaks similar to our annual capacity peak. And you're not going to hit it every month. As much as I'd like to say we would, there's an annual peak every month. And if you could hit 8 out of 12, you're doing pretty good. Plus, I think when you look ahead, it's the summer peak in which we're entering now. Next couple of days we'll have some warm weather. This, when you get that capacity, that when you hit that peak in the summertime and they hit that ultimate peak, they take a snapshot. And wherever Sterling is at that snapshot, you own that for a year. You have to make sure that you have capacity available to fill that spot throughout the whole year. That's very expensive. By keeping that capacity obligation down, we're allowed to save quite a bit of funds. We expect to save about almost $400,000 a year for the ratepayers of Sterling.
Wonderful.
And on a $2.7 million project with $1.8 million in grants, we have a very short time for a payback.
Sure. Now, you and I have frequently had these conversations about how it takes a village.
Absolutely.
And so tell me a little bit about that, because I know that you are always very generous in your acknowledgement, although you are really at the helm of this, but I know that you acknowledge so many other people.
Well, a project like this, and the 33 days is a testament to everyone. It starts with the town. The grant that we received was actually in the name of the town. So they had to transfer administrative rights over to the light department. That was done cooperatively with the selectmen. A few meetings, the signatures were taken care of. I had to meet with the Board of Health, the building inspector, the wire inspector, the Conservation Commission. I met with all the departments in town that were affected by this project. And every one of them was just right on board with us, helping us move the project along. Had no major delays. It's in our substation. It's an area that's already received. A few days we had some soft. We had a lot of rainy weather. The ground's froze. We needed some compaction to be done. We called on the DPW. They were right there. When the units were delivered, we had to block traffic. We called the police department. They were right there. When you work in a small town like this, everyone kind of bands together.
Sure.
Including our own crew. The light department, line crew, operations crew. They were there day in and day out. We dug the trenches. They ran the conduit. They pulled the wires. They put the transformers in. Whatever it took, they did. I think when you have that kind of an effort, everyone was on board, and as it got closer and the timeline was getting, they were looking at this, we were bumping up against Christmas, and you know what winter's like in New England.
Sure.
And it was nice to get this done very early, and the board, to start a project, you've got two boards, you got a select board, my own board, very supportive. We had held extra meetings, we had to do some procurement practices, we had to get bids out, we had to have extra meetings Saturday mornings to kind of meet with vendors and things. Everyone came to the table to get it done. I think that's the greatest part of the project.
And I believe now that you recently tested this with the fire and police departments.
Yes, we did. It was interesting because I as part of the grant obligations, I speak to many conferences and to other utilities and others about this project so they can learn from our mistakes. And one of the things we found was that a resiliency test is to actually turn the power off to the station and let the batteries take over. It sounds easier than it's done, but when you flip that switch, it's an interesting time. What we found, I could not find anyone to tell me what would expect when the batteries meet the generator, that instantaneous time, what happens. And there is a lag. There's a light lag. The lights go out, boom, everything comes up, and bang, we put them onto batteries. So we ran the full test as if the power just went out, and they switched over to batteries. They came up, they were running. Wasn't without its challenges, but we know now, the relays are set, the things are in place, we have a document in place that says exactly how the procedure goes. I think we're ready. So let's hope it's a procedure I hope we never have to use again. That's the plan.
Well, Sean, congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your terrific work
Thank
for
you.
you and the crew at SMLD. So saving the ratepayers money, that's what you're all about as well.
That's what we strive to do every day. We've got a great crew, and it's a great place, great town.
Thanks so much, Sean.
Thank you for having me. All right, thank you.
The American Legion Post 96 Lancaster invites all veterans to participate in the 2017 Memorial Day Parade on May 29th. For more information, call Henry Richter at 978-365-4925. The Lancaster Firefighters Association will be holding their annual spaghetti and meatball dinner May 21st at the Lancaster Fire Station from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. The Sterling Democratic Town Committee will be holding a meeting May 22nd from 6:30 to 8 p.m. This meeting will take place in room 209 of the Butterick Municipal Building, 1 Park Street. For more information, call 978-563-1551.
I'm here with Sterling Police Chief Gary Chamberlain. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you.
And for anybody that's been driving along Route 12 in Sterling, you can't help but notice that there's a major construction project going on there, and we want to talk about that. First of all, Chief, could you tell me what the project is, what's happening?
Yes, for Route 12, Lemonster Road, right in front of the police station, for about a mile, from the intersection of Choxet Road and Leominster to the 190 southbound off-ramp is undergoing a major construction. The road is going to be somewhat narrowed. They're going to install 2 rotaries, one at Choxet, Leominster, and one at the 190 southbound off-ramp. The road is going to have bicycle lanes with areas for pedestrian walking, and this whole project started within the last 2 weeks.
Wow. Now, of course, I think anybody that drives in this area knows that coming off of Route 190, if you're going left into Sterling, that's a very, very difficult intersection. But what is the purpose of all of this? Why the second rotary? What is the reason for that?
We collect accident data from all the roads throughout the town, and at least 13, 14 years ago, these intersections, specifically Choxet and Leominster and the 190 off-ramp, were identified as high crash intersections. We petitioned the state to have these roads looked at, and they finally were. They concurred with us that they were indeed high crash intersections, and it was put on a list to study and look at, and all that came to fruition. We had some public meetings, and this road design has been put in place with the thought of reducing accidents, primarily the severe injury accidents or the fatal accidents, where there have been a number of accidents with that severity in the last few years.
Sure. Now, what is the extent of the project? How long is this going to go on? And how many people have you got out there?
We currently have 2 police officers working out there, but right now they're typically just working on the drainage, so they're not in the travel lanes. We spoke at the Perkins, who was doing the construction, and they anticipate having as many as 4 to 5 police officers out there when they get into the intersections, the off ramps. It's going to be a challenge to control the traffic out there.
Now, I have noticed that because I drive that road all the time as a Sterling resident, and I did notice last week it was well down the road. Now it's basically right in front of the police station here. So this is all drainage that
Correct.
they're working on?
That's all they're working on right now is the drainage. They haven't even started on the construction of the road, or the reconstruction of the road.
Sure. Now, how long do you think this project is going to take?
They estimate about a year. And a lot of it depends on the weather. I think they'll work right up to the first snowfall, and they may have, we don't know what they'll have done at that point, but they estimate about a year to completion.
Right, okay. Now, what do you advise for drivers in the area?
Well, of course, we're going to ask for them to cooperate and drive slowly through the area. We have signs posted. We'd like them to drive 20 miles per hour through the construction zone, especially when they're approaching the workers. The workers are in there. There's a lot of heavy equipment moving into the roadway. We have police officers out there, so we don't want anybody to get injured. What would be the best practice if they could avoid the area altogether? The businesses on Route 12 are going to remain open, so if you're not visiting one of those businesses and you can find an alternate route, we suggest that people do that.
Sure. Now, that whole thing with slowing down through a construction zone, I think is so important because, you know, if I think of it, if I'm out there working on the road, you don't want to see traffic speeding toward you. It's a danger for everybody. So have you found that drivers are being generally cooperative with this?
We've taken some steps to require them to slow down. We've narrowed the road. We've positioned the police cars, put the cones out there. So we're getting some cooperation. Of course, you always have drivers that are going to exceed the speed limit, and they need to be aware that the fines for speeding in a construction zone are double what they usually are. So if you do get fined, it's going to be a hefty fine.
Exactly.
So we just want compliance rather than forced compliance.
Of course. Now, what are the hours of work? Is this a Monday to Friday?
It's a Monday through Friday project. They're starting at 7:30 in the morning and they go until 3:30 in the afternoon.
Right.
And
So
they start a little bit later than the actual commute hours, and they end just a little bit prior to the commute hours.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, an inconvenience for everybody at this point, but I think it's going to have a great result. And so remember, slow down through the construction zone, not just here, but everywhere statewide. There is a lot of construction going on. Very, very important. If you can, find an alternate route. And thank you, Chief Chamberland, and good luck with the project. And thank you to you and your staff for keeping us safe.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
The Sterling Neighbor to Neighbor Fund was established to help Sterling residents during difficult economic times. If you are interested in helping the cause or donating, contact Pat Fox at 774-275-1174. The First Church Lancaster will be the host of an art exhibit for the month of May. This exhibit will showcase the works of local artists. The artwork kit will be viewable on Saturdays and Sundays from noon to 2 p.m. I'm Monique Graca, and that's what's happening.